So everyone has these things like they've done in their life, and they think, yeah, this is like some crazy shit that I've done, but nobody else has done it. So today we're going to talk about one of those crazy stories that if someone else told me, I would be like, there's no way that happened because it seems ridiculous, but it 100% happened. And I think for me is probably one of the craziest experiences that I've had in my life. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it definitely ranks up there, but I think we just had so much crazy stuff. Sort of turns into a blur at some point. Everything seems like par for the course, but yeah, this one definitely stands out.
Yeah, so welcome to Borderline Brilliant. We are going to talk about the time when our amazing Dadi passed away. We were living in the US and all of our family was somewhere else. And we're going to talk about the adventure that we had to basically give her, a proper final goodbye.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we were in the US, um, living in Tennessee, as those of you who follow us would know. So, from our family, or immediate family anyhow, we were the only ones in the US, and particularly in Tennessee area. We obviously have some family in Washington State and other parts of the US, California and whatnot, but especially on dad's side, they're all pretty much in Canada at the time. Some of them have emigrated to the US now, but back then, pretty sure, pretty sure it was just us.
Yeah, I
Maybe,
think everybody
yeah,
else lived there.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think everybody else is still living in Canada. So, of course, her being the patriarch of the family, sorry, matriarch, she, we wanted to make sure that she got to have a proper send off from everybody from the family in Canada. We weren't going to be just doing it there and then having everyone have to come down and things of that nature, wide variety of age ranges. And of course, it was very sudden. So it's not like there was a lot of planning happening. There was going to be time for it. And of course, time was of the essence because when someone passes, you only have so much time. The body is preserved, um, and you know to do it respect. So when it happened, we had to basically come up with an emergency plan of getting her to Canada, um, post haste, and
Yes, and
that's
yeah.
that's kind of where the adventure began.
Yes. And obviously, because as you guys, I mean, think about when you need to buy a last minute airline ticket for you as a live passenger, getting a body to another country via an airline is no easy feat. So that was not an option. And so, I mean, do you want to talk about it from you started the journey, and then I can talk about where I joined you guys on it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So basically, um, I was in high school. Rashi was in college at the time, and she was studying in Washington, D.C. And I'm in high school, and I get a phone call saying, "Hey, your dad needs to speak to you. Um, you need to go home right away." Didn't get any details. Didn't get anything of that nature. So obviously concerned. Don't know what it is. I immediately hop in my car, and I drive straight home. And when I get home, obviously my dad's a mess, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And that's when I came to find out that my grandmother had passed in her sleep. And so there was just a lot of calls coming in and a lot of, you know, people trying to check on my dad and what was going on. And I know I was kind of, you know, rattled by it as well. I'd never really dealt with that, with death or anything of that nature, as far, especially with someone that close. And she happened to be staying with us at the time. So she passed in our home. And, one of the weirdest things that happened from that was, I don't know, it still sticks with me to this day. And I don't know why, but like, as I said, there were so many calls coming in. Dad was kind of a mess. And I remember one of our cousins called, and you just go through the motions of, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. How's such? Yeah, it's okay, whatever. And I remember one of them called, and he was just like, how are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. And it's like, how's your dad? And I'm like, he's fine. And he's like, he's fine. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, obviously he's not, but like, I'm not thinking right now, bro. Like, sorry if I said he's fine, and you need to know his exact emotional state right now. Like, calm down. And I don't know why that is to this day stuck to me, that I answered he's fine when he clearly wasn't, and then I was immediately challenged on it. And I'm like, bro, get your priorities straight. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a teenager at this point still, but all right, cool, whatever. Um, but anyhow,
It's
then
also
dad. Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's also funny that in our culture where they don't really care about what you feel, that in that moment they're like, no, we need to like really know what's happening. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to add in is mom was not there; she was in India.
Yeah, yeah. So it was just yeah, me, dad, and grandma. So So it's just me taking care of that. Now, luckily, we had a lot of friends there, so they had immediately kind of shown up and were helping kind of mitigate everything and whatnot. And so, Dad, after speaking to everybody, they want to have proper funeral. They decided like almost immediately like this has to happen in Toronto, right? Like we're not going to be selfish. We're not going to say no. You guys are gonna have to come here, whatnot. We're gonna go. We're obviously gonna make this happen. And then we started looking into everything, and there's a huge amount of red tape to get a body, the deceased, across an international border. There's literally a lot of red tape, and it starts with having the death certified and a coroner's report and all these things to rule out foul play and all these things. And these take a lot of time. They can take a lot of time, but again, luckily, we had a lot of friends there in the medical profession, and so they were able to immediately get working on that. And they knew all the contacts, they knew who to call, and how to streamline this to be as quick as possible to get that part of the process started and completed pretty quick, and arrange for the funeral home for embalming and all that, because you do have to, there are certain steps that have to be taken quite quickly to preserve a body. You can't just you know let's go and take off. So that was a bit of a logistical nightmare, but as I said, we had a lot of great people around to help facilitate that and get that done rather quickly. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, it's all a blur to me of how soon that got done, but it was super fast, like within a day, tops.
It felt very fast, yeah.
Very fast, like very fast compared to how that would normally take. So I feel like by the next morning, if not sooner, like we were ready to go. So we basically came up with the idea that since we had all this, Toronto's about a 12-hour drive from where we were. And so the plan became that, well, we'll get all this paperwork squared away and get everything like that, and get a casket and get everything, and we are going to go ahead and drive our grandmother straight to Toronto for a funeral to take place with the whole family the next day. And so that's what we did. We had a large van, and we placed the casket in there, and Dad and I got in, got ready. Once the all the paperwork we received in the morning and everything, that we're good to go and everything solid, we took off, and we went straight to Washington D.C. And pretty sure we drove through the night. So I don't think it was a morning situation. I'm fairly certain we drove through the night, and then we came to D.C. and picked you up, so you could be a part of the journey and the funeral as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, knowing how dad is, I'm sure he was like, we have to do this immediately, whether it was, needed really to be immediately or not, because you obviously can keep a body for a certain amount of time, but he's just, everything's always an emergency. And obviously, this one was for sure an emergency because I think more than anything else, he wanted the support, especially with mom being gone, right? And so what I remember is I get a call at some point during the day. I don't remember what time it was. And it's dad calls me, I'm pretty sure, and he's like, okay. He's like, your daddy died, and oh, we have to drive her, back to Toronto so we can have the funeral there, and we're on our way. We're gonna pick you up. I need you to go to sleep so that when we get there, you can drive. And I'm like, again, like, is this for real? Like, did you just hear any of the things that you just said to me? And I'm like, I'm like my freshman year of college. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And I was just like, of course. And also I was like, better plan would have been to tell me nothing and show up in the morning. Cause it wasn't going to be a weird hour of the night. It was like, I think you guys were going to end up getting there like either in the evening and I would have been awake, or in the morning. Like, it wouldn't have been that serious. But like, no, he chose to be like, let me tell you this stuff. And then how am I supposed to sleep? Like, no one sleeps after that, right?
Yeah.
So then I just remember I was like, obviously trying to sleep, but not sleeping. And you guys show up and you guys are like, all right, you drive now, right? I'm like, okay, well.
Because I drove the whole time because Dad was a mess. He had been a mess.
Right.
He was a mess.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you get there and we start driving, and I feel like maybe 20 minutes and I'm like, I'm sleepy.
Well, the best part is that, obviously I've been going through all of this as well, and like play by play with Dad and experiencing all this and been on that somber drive with him this whole time. And, I'm reaching the point of exhaustion. So when I hand over the wheel to you, I'm just like thankful, really thankful that, okay, she's got it here. I can get a little bit of like some rest. I don't sleep well in vehicles and anything like that, but I just wanted to get some rest. And I think I did actually pass out, which is a miracle for me. Like, I don't do that. I can't sleep in cars, on planes, or on anything. It doesn't matter what class of service I'm in. Even if you get a lay flat, I'm gonna be up. I just don't travel well like that when it comes to that. So I finally, closed my eyes and I'm getting some rest. I believe I went out. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, I get a nudge and it's like, hey, I'm getting sleepy. And I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah, no problem. Like, how long has it been? Like, how much rest did I get? like, like it was ridiculous. Like 20 minutes or something. And
Yeah.
I was like, you gotta be shitting me.
Mm-hmm.
This is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were like, I don't know, maybe you could ask Dad or something. And I was like, there's no way I'm asking Dad. Like, that man is going through it right now. If he's actually out, that's really good. Let's leave him out. Like, I'll power through. But I was so pissed. I was so pissed at you, dude. I was just like, you're so useless. You know what I mean? Like, because I was so exhausted. And then just this sheer, like, 20 minutes? Are you serious? Like,
Yeah, it was pathetic.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
super
was
pathetic. I mean, I
so bad.
totally realize that now. Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
I
terrible.
was just like, literally, you giving me no break, like, no sympathy here. Like, all right, whatever. Better safe than sorry, I suppose. And I can't remember if you'd already pulled over at that point or you were still driving. I feel like you'd pulled over. I'm not sure though. I honestly don't remember. And then yeah, so
I
we
probably did. Yeah.
yeah, so we switched it up and that was that. And then yeah, I started driving and then we we eventually made it to the next obstacle, which was the US Canada border.
Mm-hmm. And what's the other thing I remember, and I know this is like, obviously, this is kind of like the weird part about it, but like, it was a struggle for me because as much as I was getting tired and didn't want to drive and I sucked at like trying to power through, I also didn't want to be back there with the casket either, even though Dad was just like, how are you feeling this way? And I'm like, dude, this is a lot right now, okay? Like, not only has our grandmother passed away, but on top of it, now I'm supposed to just sit here like, because again, this is a like empty cargo van. So there's not like seats in the back. So you're just kind of like sitting on the ground next to this casket. I mean, picture this. Like, it's very weird, right? And it's closed, obviously, which I mean, like a weirdo, anyways, when it comes to a lot of stuff. And I was just like, yeah, this is so out of like an out of body experience in the
Yeah.
most craziest way
Like that's
possible.
how crazy our family was and stuff, and especially Dad when it comes to like this has to be done right now. There's not a lot of planning involved.
Mm-mm.
There's just power through. Just
Yeah,
make
go
it
with the
happen,
force.
however it has to do it. and we just kind of grew up that way. So there wasn't a lot of questions being asked or pushback. There was just like, follow the leader, I guess. Like, let's go. This is freaking insane, but let's go. And I'm pretty sure Dad was in the back at this point. I think he
He
was back
was, and
there.
then
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was. He was definitely back there because
Yeah, he
he.
was there because you and I were
Yeah.
talking in the front seats
Mm-hmm.
when your pathetic display happened of 20 minutes and then put me back in the driver's seat. Um, but anyhow, then, and again, this is crazy, right? This is absolutely crazy what's happening. Like, this whole thing is wild. And, and I get it. I'm sure you had a lot of things going on in your mind and it was a struggle and whatever. But, all I could see was my tiredness and what I had just been through in the last little while and whatnot. So, but anyhow, yeah, we got rolling, we got going. And then we get to the border. And that was a, I guess, a diplomatic nightmare. There was a lot of red tape at that border. They they also agreed that it was completely insane what we were doing. They asked a lot of questions, and they were just like, "There's no way you get to just bring a body into the country." You know what I mean? Like, and then the different citizenship and all that. Like, it was like there's a lot of legal and diplomatic wrangling that kind of has to happen. So then, you know, we presented them with all the paperwork and all the correct stuff. And I think to them, it was just how fast tracked and how wild this whole situation was that they were just like, okay, I don't know, but this doesn't seem right. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're going to have to make some calls, do some checks. It's like, do whatever you want. And again, luckily we had those contacts and whatnot that were able to once again facilitate getting whatever other little bit they needed or to make that, to answer that phone call in the middle of the night or whatever it was and be like, yes, this is legit. I signed off on it or this, that, and the other and verify all this documentation. Because, I mean, I guess in their mind, anybody could forge anything. And
Oh, yeah.
this already seemed insane enough. And so they had to call everyone that did sign off on those things and against their medical license and everything be like you really are the one that signed off on this that and yes it's okay it's all that and that was verified and also Dad was really pleading with them like my mother just passed away. I'm trying to get her home to her family so we can all have like a proper goodbye or whatever it might be and
Yeah.
yeah and so after that, we were finally cleared there from the border. After a lot of phone calls, a lot of begging and pleading, I remember, and well, we were back on our crazy journey, and I'm sure we left a lot of people stunned at the border that were just like, "Is this for real right now?"
Mm-hmm.
This guy is probably like, "This guy is traumatizing the shit out of his kids right now," but all
Yes.
right.
As a parent, that's what I would think. I'd be
Yeah,
like, I mean, like, fine, they're not little, but still, like, that's a lot for kids to process. Like,
yeah,
that he's just decided this is what's happening now, and he's taken them along for the ride, basically,
yeah,
literally.
yeah.
Like this is what's happening, and I'm sure, like, they probably went down as one of their craziest things that they've seen come through, their border crossing.
Yes, absolutely. And and then yeah, and then we made it to Toronto. And of course, funeral arrangements were already all arranged. We have a huge, huge family out there, like hundreds of people, very large family, and so all the arrangements were made for the funeral, and and everything worked out really good in that end. But there's always a cherry on top. And I just remember that again. I mean, I'm still a teenager, and I'm in Toronto, and this is like a lot to process. And you know what I mean? Like I don't know what's going on and how. I don't want to say I don't know how serious it is, but at the same time, it's like you're almost disassociated from it, right? Because you're just like,
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
what just
shocking.
happened. I just went through this crazy
Yeah.
whirlwind kind of shock thing. So like for me, when I was there, I was kind of just like eager to kind of like hang out with my cousin or something like that, for some sense of normalcy or just because I mean that's what I would normally do when I would go to Toronto and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I guess I didn't really grasp the gravity of what had gone down and maybe the support that Dad needed or anything like that. And I just remember, he was so upset with me after kind of like the funeral and everything like that. And he was just like, you know, this was for my mother, and I really needed you and whatnot. And all you could think about was, going to go, spend time with your cousin or hang out. So, like, thank you very much. And I was just like, seriously, bro? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, come on, man. Like, I mean, at the time, obviously, I felt like shit because I was just like, damn, I really kind of let him down and this, that, and the other. But I was just like, in hindsight, you're kind of like, dude, we just went through a crazy amount of hell. I totally had your back. I literally drove the entire way, got us all there safe. I'm in a bit of shock right now. This is kind of crazy to just get pulled out of school one day, find out what's going on, go through this wildness, and like literally, then 24 hours or something, you know what I mean? Have just go through this wild thing and then be at this point. And then I guess I kind of was like, all right, he's good now. He's got all his brothers
His
and
family, yeah.
sisters and all this, that, and the other type thing, Like I guess I was just trying to get away from the craziness too because it was so overwhelming. But yeah, so that kind of sucked. You know what I mean? That ended it on a really sour note. But I was just kind of like, well, whatever. I mean, at that point, I was used to being a disappointment, so it's not a big deal. I was just kind of like, well, another notch in the belt, buddy. you know?
But I think, in fairness to both of us, it was the first time that we ever saw our parent, especially our father, needing us, which
Yes,
was
like
so foreign to us. Like,
ever. Yes.
ever. Like, it was the first. I was just thinking that while, before you even started talking about it, is like, I remember it being the first time where he needed us in reverse. And I remember mom told me when I talked to her, she's like, I'm not there. I really need you to, like, be there for him. And I was just like, what does that even look like?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what it's like to be there for him. Like, he literally is so strong, and like, he doesn't like need us. So it was such a weird thing. And I think for him, obviously, like, I remember even like during the Gurdwara stuff, and like when we were doing after the book, we were having like langar, which is like we eat afterwards. And I remember one of, like, because again, like you said, we have so much family. One of the older cousins came over to me and they're like, "Have you eaten?" And I said no, because I was doing seva. And they said, "Okay, well then you need to, like, you should eat." And I sat down to eat, and he immediately came over and he's like, "What are you doing? Why are you eating? Why are you not helping? Why are you not doing seva?" And I was like, "Oh," and I didn't even know what to say. I was like, "Okay, it's okay. I'll get up again, and like I'll start helping again." But I still remember that. It was like literally the first time where he did need us, but then it was so foreign to him too. Like, he didn't really know how to ask other than just like, guilting us and saying, "Oh my gosh, you guys suck." Because
Yeah.
it's like, like, that is not a dynamic you form in an instant. And especially not when, in times of like, you know, hardships, you look to your parents, you're not used to it the other way around. And so
Mm.
I just remember it being like, I think I was so surprised by how upset he was. Not that, like, I, because again, like, I had never experienced that kind of a loss in that sense of, right? Like, you experience, like, we had experienced one other, like, you know, person passing, but it was different because we were so young then, and I don't, like, it was such a different experience. But like, for this, it's like your parents' parent is passing away. And what I remember is, like, it's no matter like how old you are, it's the same kind of loss. Like, you know, that, like, I think I expected it to be less because he was an adult, I guess, and like, she was obviously older, she lived a really good life. But it wasn't. It was like, I think that's what I remember being really surprising for me, is like, I was almost surprised at his, like, his emotion, I guess. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Because he was
listen,
all,
that's
I
the
guess,
first
because,
time
yeah,
in my life I saw him
yeah,
emotional.
yeah.
I've seen angry, saw angry my whole life. That was the first time I saw a different emotion. You know what I mean? Like he was going through it,
Yeah.
and that had me shook. I'd never seen him going through it. And I mean, I guess that's why my response was that time, "How's your dad?" "He's fine." "He's always fine. He's fine." You know what I mean? And then to be questioned, like, what do you mean he's fine? And it's like, dude, I'm not even processing the fact that it's the first time I've seen my father shed a tear. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is nuts to me. Okay. So I'm not about to psychoanalyze the guy. Like, my bad. And, yeah. And I think that's what really shook me too, because I'd never experienced that before, ever. Like, the guy was an absolute rock. So that was shocking and crazy. And I didn't know how to process that either. So, yeah. So how do you know who needs what when you've never seen them in a position to where they've ever expressed even any sort of need of support or anything like that before? You know what I mean? They're your rock.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and again, we hadn't really experienced that kind of loss. So I don't know what was going through his mind or anything like that. And again, he's not the kind of guy to sit there and patiently have a conversation with you about, what you need to do or what they need, or because he's still trying to keep up that rock facade. He just can't help that it's coming out, you know, with that raw emotion that he's obviously experiencing and whatnot. So, you know,
Yeah, and I think it was also the first time I realized, not that I knew how much mom did for us, but I realized how much he really relied on her for emotional support. Because again, like I said, I'd never really seen that side, even in their relationship. Like, it was really apparent right away that I was like, oh man, this is going to be really hard without mom here. Like, she clearly would be the one who would be doing a lot of this stuff, and then helping him, and and supporting him, and like, being teenagers. It's like we were both like 17, 18 maybe at the time. Like, we're so young. It's like,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I had no idea how to support him at that time. And um, yeah, I just remember, like, it was a lot of like him being upset about us not doing things in the right way or the right thing or
yeah,
whatever it was. And I knew he was obviously grieving, and I was like, it's fine, it's not him, because um, he just, that's a lot. And it's, yeah, I still, I mean, it was so long ago, but it still like makes me remember that different side of him. And I don't think I've seen that side of him again since.
no,
It's so
that was
rare.
it. That was it. So how the hell were we supposed to be prepared for that shit? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
that was out of nowhere, left field for him too. Don't get me wrong. I understand, like, that really had to suck, but like, yeah, never before, never since has he ever been that way. He's right back to rock status, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And that, of course, the biggest thing that, I mean, I guess I didn't even consider it, was the fact that mom wasn't there, because she would have been the one that would have calmly told us everything that we were expected from us and what we needed to do and this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? Whereas that is not at all. Communication is not his strong suit.
Definitely not. Um, yeah.
Lecture you for hours, but not
Mm-hmm.
communicate. It's
Well,
different
he was
between
talking.
talking. Yes.
No, he considers that talking. He's like, I just talked to you guys as much as I could. And I'm like, yes, you did.
Yeah, you talked at us plenty. We didn't have a lot to, there was not a lot of interaction or back and forth, but
You know, when we were thinking about topics, and this one came to my mind the last time we were, uh, you know, recording our last episode, and it was about our best, or what we think is the best decade. And it came to me, and I was like, that is such a crazy story. And I wanted it to hopefully like kind of jog people's memories of like what's a crazy experience that they've had in their lives, and to think back on it and kind of like what happened. And I think it's really important, especially I think as we get older, to like reflect back and then connect back to those younger versions of ourselves, to kind of, I don't know, like rediscover yourself. Because the person you were then, like, I can step back into that day even now and imagine what I felt like then, and like it's so vivid. But then there's like other parts that I'm just like, it's a blur, like I don't even remember crossing the border that day, but there's certain parts, like I remember the drive, I remember certain things, I remember afterwards, I remember dad. But like it's always so fascinating to me what parts we like hold on to. So I hope this gives everyone that, reminder of like, hey, what's something crazy that I did and I had totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, like for me too, like, a lot more happened during this stuff. And there's a lot, probably more memorable things and stuff, but it really is a blur. It's just these weird little parts you remember from it. You know what I mean? Like, it was a shock, and yeah, and it was. It's very much a blur. That's all I can really say. You know what I mean? Like, I learned some more from you today of what happened that day than I even remembered. So yeah, it's just, what? I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I had completely forgotten that mom wasn't there. Like, that's a complete blur to me that mom wasn't there, even though clearly she wasn't there. And that's what, made this so much harder on everyone. But I didn't even think about that because, like, mom's usually always there type thing. But yeah, like, that's literally a part of the memory that I don't even remember because I never
Yeah.
really thought about it. It's just one of those things. We went through it and here we are.
Well, I think this is his perspective, right? Because I remember her talking to me specifically about that, why, like, how I needed to do things differently or, support in a way that was different because of her absence. I think that's why I remember that so
Yeah.
much from that day.
Yeah, I don't think she reached out to me. Probably asked me how I was doing, but I don't think she was going to be like, hey, so need you to step up, champ. You know what I mean? She's probably, this guy's an idiot. Hope his dad doesn't kick his ass.
Yeah. She's like, hopefully he just doesn't do anything to make him mad, and
Yeah.
she can manage the rest. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
straight
basically
up.
what
That
her
was her
roles were
thought
back
process.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That was it. Yeah.
Pretty solid plan. So now, obviously, we're covering a serious topic and whatnot. So you want to have reverence for the deceased and for our family and whatnot. But as you know, with us, like, we find humor in everything, and there's just stuff that it's hilarious about any situation. So one of these, again, about this one, which was ridiculous, and how it all transpired was again with this rush, 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 go, go, go. And as we were about to head out, of course, when body is embalmed and they get it ready for the funeral and everything like that, you have to put on fresh new clothes. So uh dad had said to grab grandma's clothes from her room. So I went and grabbed her little suitcase from her room. And so I take that, I give that to the coroner, or not the coroner, but like whoever the, I don't know what they're called, that at the funeral home that prepare the body and
Yeah,
everything like
like the
that.
funeral director or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So anyhow, I gave him the suitcase with clothes, and then they pick out a suit or whatever, and they put her in it, and then I think nothing of it, right? Like, whatever. And then we're there at the funeral. And first of all, the suit she's wearing is so incredibly tight. She was a larger woman. She was a much larger woman. So the suit was kind of tight. And I'm just like, damn, maybe it was an old suit. I don't know. And then my other grandma, my mom's mom, is there. And she sees it. And she's like, wait, where did you get her clothes? And I'm like, it was this little brown suitcase in the room. And she's like, you idiot, that's my suitcase.
Feeling is going there. I was trying not to laugh. But oh my god, that is so funny.
So I was like, wait, let me tell this without even, I
Oh,
want your
you
like
broke
raw
all kinds of
reaction
rules
to
there,
that.
bro.
So she was like, "Are you
Oh
shitting
my
me,
god.
bro? Like, where's my suitcase?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I gave it to them because she used to come and stay with us too. You know what I mean?" So like, I just saw a little old lady suitcase and I gave it to them, and they must have had a hard time stuffing her in this suit.
God, how did they even do that?
I don't
Oh my
know.
god.
They got their tricks, I
Oh
guess,
god.
because guys, there's a big size difference between our grandmas. And so she had a loss
Oh my
that day
god.
too. She lost her whole American wardrobe. She was so mad at me. And she's the sweetest
Oh my
lady.
god, that's so funny. Dude, that's
So
so
yeah,
funny. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So hey, that's how we do it, guys. You know what I mean? Like, there's just every cloud has a silver lining, and you might have some horrible memories from things that happened, but you know what? There's always something that you can find the humor in, and just kind of to balance the good and the bad, and that was absolutely hilarious when I was being scolded by my other grandmother for giving weird clothes.
I
She
totally
was so
forgot that.
mad.
Now that you
Yeah,
said it, I do remember that, but I
yeah.
was like, oh my God.
She was fuming.
I also love that the funeral director people weren't like, hey, by any chance, did you give us the wrong clothes?
But see, that's the other weird thing is that it was Indian suits. So they're probably like, clearly this is not someone else's clothes. We've never seen these types of clothes in our lives. It's not like it's a medium shirt trying to put on
Like,
someone
who
who's
else would have
triple
more?
XL. You know what I mean? They're just like, well, shit, I guess this is how they dress. You know, cultures collide. This is John City, Tennessee, where these people were doing this.
Oh my
And
God,
they're just
dude.
like, damn,
I'm
these people wear
crying. Oh
really
my
tight
God.
clothes. How are they supposed to know?
Dude. Oh my God.
Barely
Yeah,
internet
they
back
wouldn't.
then.
No, yeah, no, they wouldn't know. They would just be like, okay, this is different ethnic clothing. Yeah.
Huh? Uh-huh. And I
We
guess
don't
they
want to
just
offend
go
the
for really
family, so
snug
we'll
fit.
just make
I
this
don't know
really
how
cute.
this poor one got dressed every day, but here we are. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll always remember that. And that was just the cherry on top because it really brought a moment of levity. Because this happened in the middle of the funeral when my grandma was like, "You suck so hard." like, I'm just like, dude, I suck.
So
Like, I
funny,
suck.
dude. I'm
Like, I
glad you
just
didn't
I
tell me then.
screwed
I
this
would have
all up.
died. I would just been started laughing because I laugh anyways. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah, and
laugh
I'm sorry. I
anyways
know
in
it's tough to tell
uncomfortable
the story and laugh
situations,
at the
even
same
now.
time, but
And
yeah, it just to this day. I told you that was the best part, Rosh. I was like, I can't believe I left out the best part of this story.
that is the best part. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I think that's why I want to share these things. I think, like, and I hope people share their stories because when you know, when you like remember the story and remember what happened, and especially if somebody else was there to experience it with you, it does, you remember things that you had forgotten. And I think that's really cool.
This was a journey we just kind of went on. Rashi just dropped this on me right before we started this. So hey, I've got a crazy idea. Remember that time? And I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, I think it'll be great. I was like, okay. So that's why the majority of this episode is me literally trying to remember what happened and recreating it. So it's hot off the press,
Yeah.
guys.
Yes. Enjoy.